let me give you a bit of context first of all. As you heard, we are a boys-only school, so it's an important point to start with. But we have got a girls' school just down the road called St Helens and St Catherine's, also in the town of Abingdon, and we do a lot of work together in partnership with them. Now, where is Abingdon? First of all, let's give you a bit of context, a bit of geographical context. So we're very close to Oxford, just south of Oxford, as you can see here. We're about an hour from Heathrow. So, as I said, Oxford is nearby, just 10 minutes away on bus, and often our boarders enjoy going into Oxford at the weekend. And looking around there. So, and we're very fortunate to be able to benefit from the influence of the university on us, and we're very proud of our connections with Oxford. Not too far away also is Stratford, of course, birthplace of William Shakespeare, another popular excursion for our boarders. Just a little bit further away is the city of Bath, again, somewhere which our boarders often visit. And then, as I said, just over an hour to Heathrow, and not too far away, quick hop away, either by train, bus or taxi, is London itself. Now, the school has a long history. As you can see, the beginnings of the school are lost a little bit in the mists of time, but we believe the first head of the school was back in 1100. And the school had its first charter in 1256. So kind of 800 or 900 years of education at Abingdon, and a very long tradition. And that includes the connection that Abingdon has with Pembroke College, one of the colleges in Oxford, which was founded by the headmaster of Abingdon School back in 1624. And we're marking 150 years since we've been on our current site, which is a lovely green site in the city of Abingdon, in the town of Abingdon. We're very close to the centre, and so it's a lovely location with lots of space for the boys to get out and enjoy themselves. Now, the school has a long history, as I mentioned, but I like to think that we are actually a very forward-thinking school, and that's perhaps captured by some of our more recent buildings. I'm showing you here a picture of the Yang Science Centre, which was opened about 4 years ago, and that offers some fantastic facilities for science. And our boys very much enjoy their science, and there's great space for experiments and for practicals and so on in the laboratories. But also, we were keen to make sure that there were breakout spaces, which you can see here, which the boys use for independent study. And it gives them great access as well to their teachers, who are based in this part of the school as well. And that means that they can get support with their homework when they're working independently. There's been lots of building since the Yang Science Centre opened. That includes a space called Beach Court, which houses our sixth form centre and the library, as well as the art department on the top floor. And that opened in September 2018. And again, provides lots of space where boys can work independently, but also gives them a lovely space in which they can socialise and catch up with their friends. And it's lovely to see them enjoying the facilities and making the most of those opportunities, not just for study, but also for getting on with one another, making friends and socialising, which is such a key part of school life. More recently still was this building called Farringdon Lodge, which houses economics and computer science being a subject which is very popular and growing in popularity at the school. And then economics is also a very vibrant department. And so we wanted to make sure they had facilities which could accommodate their ambitions, and came up with this building which opened at the start of this academic year. And the boys really enjoying using these spaces. We tried to give it a really modern, contemporary feel with lots of light, and there are wonderful views over the older buildings as well. So it's created a great atmosphere in that part of the school. But clearly schools are much more than their buildings and their location. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our DNA as a school and what makes Abingdon the place it is. And I suppose there are three pillars to our lives, which I'd like to talk about today. Now, academic life, as you'd expect, then the other half. Now, the other half is what we call extracurricular life, but it has a particular flavour at Abingdon. And I'm going to talk to you too about how our pastoral care works, which underpins clearly everything that's going on in the school. Now, there is a real sense of academic ambition and achievement which underpins life at Abingdon. We are unashamedly an academic school where we value learning, we value intellectual curiosity, and these are values which we really want to develop in our pupils. And the pupils really respond very positively to that atmosphere and to the culture that we create, where it's cool to learn, where there are boys ambitious in their learning who support one another and also spur other people on to make the most of their abilities. Now, that expresses itself clearly in academic results. That's one way that we can measure these things. And there's much more information about our academic results on the website of the school. And clearly that's a great place to go if you want more information. But some of the statistics which are on this slide give you a taste of with the kind of level of achievement that the boys are attaining. And as I said, but what makes it more exciting for me is the way that they feed off one another and spur one another on to efforts. And to do that, clearly, you need a great team of teachers. And we're very proud, not just of the quality of our teachers, but also about the programs that we have in place to improve our teachers. And staff development is a key part of our ethos. And we aim to ensure that every teacher who works at Abingdon is a better teacher by the time they leave than when they arrive. We're constantly trying to help them improve. And that, as I said, expresses itself in academic results, but also in the culture of lessons. Now, I mentioned that we use the term the other half to describe our extracurricular activities. Now, that's really because it really is the other half of school life. And what we want all our pupils to do is achieve a really healthy balance between their academic life and between their life in the extracurricular realm. Because we believe that the qualities of personal development that they attain in their other half activities feeds really positively into their academic life, and vice versa, of course. So there's a real interplay between these different elements in school life. But the other half is a really distinctive part of Abingdon because there is just so much on offer, and we really prioritise our efforts in the other half. And that's included during this COVID phase where my colleagues have worked really, really hard to make sure that we have been able to put on as many activities as is possible. So currently we count about 150 clubs or activities, and there is an enormous range in those activities. And you can see some examples here because it clearly includes sport, cultural activities, subject-related activities, but also things like Lego architecture, which perhaps can fall outside the normal realm of schools. The Abingdon Film Unit is something we're particularly proud of, where boys produce really creative and interesting films stimulated by tutors who come in from the film industry to support them. Debating is a real strength of the school, something the boys really enjoy. And what we're trying to do is balance two elements. Now, first of all, the first element is elite performance, and we're very fortunate to have some extraordinarily gifted young men in the school who are achieving very, very high standards. So the elite performance is very strong, and we have the facilities and also the staffing in place to support that elite performance. Now, that might be in music, where we've got over 40 boys in the school at the moment who are either grade 8 or diploma standard on their instruments. And there's about a dozen international sportsmen in the school for hockey, rowing, rugby, fencing, lots of different sports. So the elite performers are catered for. But if I'm honest, the most important thing to me is actually participation and giving the opportunity for all the boys to find activities that stimulate them, that they find interesting, and for giving them the opportunity also to try things which maybe they haven't done before. So there aren't any compulsory activities for the boys when they join at 13, but instead what we do is we work with them to try and find a good balance and a healthy balance between their academic life and the other half, and also within the other half. So we'll encourage them to make sure absolutely there's some sport as part of their menu, but also encourage them to get involved in things like music or writing for magazines and publications, perhaps taking part in the Model United Nations, representing the school at chess, building robots, all sorts of things. Just trying to get a really good blend for each pupil. And I think that for me is key, because we want the pupils to enjoy their time in school and learn about themselves in the process. Now, clearly, all this has to be supported by the pastoral life of the school. Now, Abingdon is quite a big school, so there are over 1,000 boys in the school. But what we do to compensate for that, and that gives great opportunities clearly in the realm of the other half and the range of subjects we can offer in our curriculum. But we want to make sure that our pastoral units are small so that every pupil can be known, every pupil is valued and looked after. So the key pastoral unit are our houses, and we have 9 houses, 3 of which are for day and boarding pupils, and then 6 of which are day only. But the boarders are mixed in with our day pupils. And then the tutor groups, which operate through the year groups, are smaller still. So usually about between 10 to 12 boys in each tutor group. So the boys really are looked after in quite small units, and the tutors get to know the boys really well, as do the housemasters. And the boys stay in those houses throughout their career in the school. So they're known really well by the time they leave. And I suppose what we're trying to do is we don't want the boys to feel that they have to be a typical Abingdon boy or be an identikit boy. We want them to find out about themselves. We want them to be their own person, and we want them to leave the school really feeling comfortable in their own skin, so that they're confident, they can go out and do the kind of things that they want to do, but they also are just reflecting upon themselves. They are self-aware, and that is why the pastoral system is so key. We don't want them to feel they have to be perfect all the time. We recognise that everybody gets it wrong sometime, and school is a time to find out about yourself by making mistakes. But the support is in place to allow them to thrive, and that includes our team of on-site counsellors, as well as our health centre, of course. Now, boarding is a key part of our DNA as a school, and it has a huge influence on the way the school runs and on the kind of school we are. And there's a really special feel to our boarding, a real sense of community, a real sense of enjoyment, and a real sense of integration as well for our boarding pupils with our day pupils. As I mentioned, there are both day and boarding pupils in each house, and that means they really get to know one another well through their tutor groups, through their other half activities, and so on. There's lots going on out of normal school hours as well for our boarders. You can see some of the activities that they're getting up to here. And cookery, I have to say, is a particularly popular one. And I love dropping into the boarding houses and trying out some of the food that they've been making. They really enjoy that. But they have lots of fun, and there's lots of space for laughter and fun in boarding, which is clearly really important. But they also have the time really to make the most of everything that the other half has to offer. So to try and summarise, we see ourselves very much as a global school. We embrace the different perspectives that our overseas boarders bring, and love the fact that we can mix that in with the perspectives of our day boys who live locally. And that means that we do have a global appeal, and we have pupils from many, many different countries around the world. And as I say, that is something which we really embrace and really enjoy, and something which really makes Abingdon a special place to be. Now I'm going to finish off with a quick account of our different entry points into the school, which you can see on this slide. So the first year, this is our 11 plus entry. This is day boys only, and we'll take about 60 to 65 boys a year. Then they take their test in the January of the year of entry. Then third year is our biggest entry point, and because there are about 90 places or so available, and that's open to boarding and day, with about 24 boarding places being available. And the boys take that test in the October 2 years before their entry, so in year 7, if you like, or the first year. We do take pupils in at the 4th year as well, at a 14 plus point, but that is when space permits, and we're in the fortunate position of being very popular at the moment. So there are a restricted number of places available generally in the 4th year, and they do their test in the November before they join. And then the final entry point is clearly the 6th form, where we'll have about 8 to 10 boarding places. And the boys then do their test in November, the year before they join. Quick idea what assessment involves for these boys. So there are exams in 3rd year for English, maths and reasoning, but we also look at other data such as school reports, clearly in making decisions. And then for boys who kind of make their way through the assessment process, there will be an interview. That's often conducted remotely using Zoom, Skype, and so on. And then the 6th form entry, we do ask the boys to do some papers in the subject choices, the 4 A levels that we would ask them to start with at least. And then they also do an English essay and some English grammar, so we can assess language ability when English is not their first language. And then there is a verbal reasoning paper as well. And again, we'll look at school reports, and there will be an interview as part of that process. We don't currently use UCASET or the ISEB common pretest as part of our assessment process. Now, there's lots of information there to take on board, so do go to the website. That is absolutely the place to start. But my Director of Admissions and Marketing, Jane Jurgensen, would be very happy to hear from you. You can email her at admissions@abingdon.org.uk. And also, we will, of course, be there on the 4th of October to speak to you individually as well. So thank you for giving me the chance to speak to you today. I will come out of sharing my screen. I'll thank you all and hand you back